recent study by the National Psychiatric Institute in Boston concluded that no activity can account for the phenomenon known as nightmares. Whereas many dreams come from unconscious desires, most nightmares seem to come from an outside source, independent of the individual. In fact, when subjects are asked to recall nightmares, they are almost always found in the same memory section as actual physical memories, not in the section where normal dreams are replayed. In other words, those aliens and creatures you see at night in your dreams, they're real. Since before I could remember, I've always wanted to be a mother. It seemed my whole childhood and teenage years were spent yearning for a child of my own. By the time I was 9, I had names and color schemes for the nursery picked out. All I needed was someone to make them with. But college was disappointing. I went through a whole string of bad boyfriends and bad father material. Getting on with my career didn't seem to help much. I realized, though, when I was 27 and there were no suitable prospects on the line, that technically I did not need a man to have a child with. Just a very particular product of his. I found a sperm donor bank, chose the best prospect they had, and, well, hoped for the best. I was overjoyed when my first pregnancy test came out positive. My doctor was surprised to see me coming in sooner than he'd expected. Before I was 4 weeks along, I had the nursery painted and the furniture set up. Toys and diapers, bottles and books, bibs and coveralls. I had everything a new mother would need. I couldn't explain all the weight I was losing. I kept getting thinner, except for my belly. My friends all joked that it had to be at least twins, or the biggest baby they'd ever seen. I got weary of the kicking somewhere in the 3rd trimester, and the scratching. Just one more week until my due date. I just wish it would stop gnawing. You've been dating your girlfriend almost 2 years now. You often stay late over the summer and on weekends and arrive home long after the rest of your family goes to sleep. Every night you drive the deserted rural roads back home from a pleasant evening at her house. You become overwhelmed by fears that you'll arrive home to find your family dead in their beds. Each night you peek into your sister's room and see she's fine, and hear the reassuring rumble of your father snore as you pass your parents' door. You chuckle at your silly worries and drift off to sleep. Finally, one morning you decide to tell your mother about your late-night fears amidst some jovial conversation, for a nice laugh. As you tell her, a concerned look comes over her face. She sweeps the hair away from her face as she says, "Oh, honey, you know we were all shot almost 2 years ago." You scream as you see the gaping bullet hole in her forehead. You'd fallen asleep to late-night television, but curiously woke up to the sounds of the static playing on the TV. As you sit up, rubbing your eyes, you read the scrawling words of the emergency broadcast system. "This is just a test. This is just a test. This is just a test." You glance at the clock. It reads 3:33. Yawning, the television catches your eye. As you watch, the EBS says something different. "This is just a test. This is just a test. You are being watched. This is just a test." You know when you're falling asleep and you suddenly get the feeling that you've tripped? Your body lurches forward in an instant, ready to protect you instinctively from injury. You can almost see the ground rising to meet you. This occurs when the boundaries between you and the you in an alternate universe are weakest. This is the feeling that happens when another you dies. Have you ever heard the expression, "an apple a day keeps the doctor away"? Most assume, with no reason to think otherwise, that it is simply an easy-to-remember rhyme that stresses the importance of eating healthy to young children. But this saying did not originate as a harmless reminder. It was born in a frontier town in the early years of the gold rush, where food was scarce and money was even scarcer. One August, when a bad drought had struck the region, a series of bloody killings swept through the town. Every night a single house would be broken into, and anyone who saw the invader would be brutally slain. Nothing was ever stolen, save for a few scraps of food. After 2 weeks of this, the local grocer set out a few apples and a glass of milk in the town square overnight. He then hid in the tower of the church, hoping to catch a glimpse of anyone who came by. Fighting fatigue, the grocer waited for any sign of life below. Just after midnight, he was rewarded by a chilling sight. A man carrying a black bag stuffed with dully shining metal tools and covered from head to foot in cloth bandages staggered into view. He paused at the sight of the apples and milk, then whipped his head around as if looking for the one who dared patronize him. Seized with fear, the grocer ducked out of sight, staying hidden till sunrise. The strange man had only taken one of the apples and didn't even touch the glass of milk. No houses were broken into and no one was killed. For decades the town continued to place out an apple or two every night, even long after a single apple stopped disappearing. There it goes again. Something definitely moved this time. It was very brief, but out of the corner of your eye you saw something. But wait, all the doors are locked. No pets, and your parents won't get home till 10. So there's no way something moved. It's just your imagination getting the best of you. Sitting alone in your room, the only light emitting from the monitor of your computer. You stare into the darkness for several minutes, just to be sure. Now you feel silly. What were you thinking? Of course there's nothing there. What are you, 6? Go back to what you were doing. 15 minutes later, as you prepare to go to bed, you're in the bathroom. The shower curtains shift. Wait, no. Stop spooking yourself. It's just an overactive imagination, filling your head with what isn't really there. You gaze into the mirror at yourself. You say it to yourself slowly and clearly. Imagination. With a sigh, you turn off the lights and head towards your room. Laying in bed, you stare at your ceiling, dark and foreboding. The only motion of a small fan disturbing the calmness of the night. A shadow from the light in the hall shifts. No, stop it. It's your imagination, just that. Go to sleep. But then, just when you're about to drift off to sleep, at the phase no one remembers when they wake, you sense something in the darkness. It's your imagination leering down at you with a jagged, macabre smile. Coffins used to be built with holes in them, attached to 6 feet of copper tubing and a bell. The tubing would allow air for victims buried under the mistaken impression that they were dead. Harold, the Oakdale gravedigger, upon hearing a bell, went to go see if it was children pretending to be spirits. Sometimes it was also the wind. This time it wasn't either. A voice from below begged and pleaded to be unburied. "You Sarah O'Bannon?" "Yes," the voice assured. "You were born on September 17th, 1827? "Yes." "The gravestone here says you died on February 19th? "No, I'm alive. It was a mistake. Dig me up. Set me free." "Sorry about this, ma'am," Harold said, stepping on the bell to silence it and unplugging up the copper tube with dirt. "But this is August. Whatever you is down there, you ain't alive no more, and you ain't coming up." James arrived home late one night. He unlocked his front door and stepped into the darkness of his apartment. "Hey, honey, I got that early flight home. I'm in the bedroom. There's been a power cut." James was surprised but happy to hear his girlfriend's voice. She had been away for a few days on a business trip. "Okay, I'll be right there." He stumbled through the darkness and into the bedroom. He carefully made his way over to the bed before sitting down. "Hey, sweetheart," he said as he felt his girlfriend's arm wrap around him. "Jesus, Abigail, you're freezing." He shuddered as he felt her cold skin against him. "I know, the heating has been off for hours. Come on, baby, get in bed and help me warm up," she said, attempting to put on a cute voice. James got undressed and placed his phone on the bedside table before climbing into bed. He removed his glasses and moved closer to Abigail. He was startled for a moment when his phone began to ring. He picked it up and looked at it, but didn't recognize the number. He brought it to his ear and answered, "Hello?" "Hey, honey, it's me. I'm still at the airport. I couldn't get that flight, but I'll be able to get one soon. I'll probably be home by morning." "Hello? James?" He felt an icy hand grip his shoulder. I woke up as thunder shook the house, just in time to see the power fade. My dog was freaking out, as usual. When the lights go out, he scampers from room to room. His nails go clickety-click on my hardwood floors. I've never seen a pet so afraid of the dark. As I rummaged through my nightstand to find a flashlight, he stopped and yelped. "Calm down, Max, I'm looking for it." I heard his nails against the floor as he found his way back to me in the dark. Finally pulling out the flashlight, I clicked it on to make him feel better. "Come on, Max, I've got the light." Scanning the room with the light from my bed, I caught a glimpse of his nose from behind the bookcase. "Come on, boy, it's okay." He peeked his head out barely, with a look of frozen terror in his eyes, then pulled it back again. "Whatever, I'm thirsty anyway." I got up and stumbled to the kitchen, then stopped dead in my tracks. What lay before me made me nearly vomit. Sprawled across the floor was my dog, splattered in blood. His head had been hacked off. As I tried to recover, I heard the clicking of nails on the floor, approaching me from behind. "There's nothing under the bed," Tommy whispered to himself, terrified. "There's nothing under the bed." But he didn't believe it. The moonlight poured in through the window in his bedroom, making shadows dance and take scary shapes on the walls. Some looked like wolves, some looked like snakes, some looked like hands with long, sharp claws, reaching for him. "It's just a shadow," he whispered. "It's just the shadow of the tree outside." He closed his eyes tight and pulled the covers up as far as they would go. Under the covers, he was safe. Everyone knows that nothing can get through the blanket on a little boy's bed. As long as he stayed completely covered, nothing can get him. But nothing was under the bed. The wind howled and a tree branch scratched at the window. Tommy shivered and tried to close his eyes even tighter. He knew he had to stop whispering. It could hear him. "There's nothing under the bed," he thought to himself. "If I pretend I'm asleep, it'll go away. Everyone knows that nothing would try to get a boy who's already asleep. It wanted boys to be awake when it ate them. It wanted to hear the screams." He tried faking a snore, but he decided it seemed too obvious. Everyone knows that only dads snore. So he shifted about until he was comfortable, keeping the covers pulled tight. And he did this to the best to pretend that he was asleep. Crack. It's just the house settling, he thought. But he still didn't believe it. The sound hadn't come from the walls. It came from below. From the floor. There's nothing under the bed. There's nothing under the bed. There's nothing under the bed. He repeated the thought in his head over and over until the words lost their meanings. I'm under the covers, and I'm asleep, and nothing can get me because... There's nothing under the bed, whispered a voice outside the window. There's nothing under the bed, growled a voice from inside the walls. There's nothing under the bed, hissed a voice from behind Tommy's headboard. And we know you're not asleep. Thank you guys so much for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please be sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. But I've been just plain creepy, and I'll catch you in the next video.